everybody. Did you vote? Yeah. Okay, good. Just checking. I wanted to make sure. I'm not going to be alone up here. I want to invite Saška and Chris. Please come on up and join me. Chris Wiggins and Saška Mojsilović. Give them a big round of applause, please. Welcome them. Okay, you guys ready to do this? I'm going to read your bona fides. All right, so Saška is head of AI Foundations at IBM Research. She's co-director of IBM Science for Social Good and an IBM Fellow. Chris Wiggins is a professor at Columbia University's Data Science Institute. He is chief data scientist at the New York Times. This word trust, it's incredibly loaded depending on who uses the word. Chris, how do you define it for your students?
A lot of what you can teach students about trust doesn't require them to write original AI algorithms. Right away, you get the opportunity to open up the ethical toolbox from the 70s and 80s understood in the research community. And because people are using AI in their personal lives and their professional lives, you don't have to separate out some sort of quantitative metric for performance with what we mean by an ethical manifestation of some sort of digital product.
There's this great question I read in the Nature article that we sent out for people, and it really struck me. It was like, as computer scientists, ethicists, social scientists, and others strive to improve the fairness of data and AI, we need to think, like, what is fairness? Should the data be representative of the world as it is, or as we aspire it to be?
Especially in the AI, as we develop more and more stuff and we put out more and more stuff, it's not always easy, or it's almost impossible to predict some unforeseen events, right? I remember the first time we coded up an algorithm that actually recognized an object or a human, and everyone was so excited. I mean, it felt really great, like, gee, this thing can see. And no one would even think about it, that thing might not see all the skin tones equally or facial features equally. It did not occur to us. And then later on, as these things advanced, they were deployed, you start to realize that there are issues and there are discrepancies and things happen, and then you go on and try to make it better.
The tropes that we've all embraced about what a company is supposed to be doing are not about should, and they're certainly not about ethics. Our ethical framework for how to deal with data around human people was crafted and sort of forged in the context of research universities about human subject research, and is enforceable only for universities that receive federal funding. There's no structure for, even if we were to define ethics, to enforce ethics at the level of private companies.
I think in the long term we can spell out sort of ways of building institutional protections, but in the short term, what do we do?
I think we should use all of our weapons. I mean, that is a regulation and breakup is one of like myriad weapons that are at our disposal. And on the long term, you, journalists, are one of the weapons also, right? Because by educating people, you advance a responsible mindset among the individuals who, again, are the electorate and the product and the users, and also in the engineers. Like, engineers need to develop adversarial mindset and ethical mindset. Adversarial mindset would be when you do the face recognition to think immediately, what could go wrong? And ethical mindset is the mindset that, like, you deploy a product, and particularly with an API, it's different from like selling somebody a hammer. Once you've sold the hammer, you can't control what somebody does with it. With a news feed or with like Tay as an example of a bot, if things go wrong, you shut it down, right? And if things go wrong with the API, you have the opportunity to stop it and tune it.
We were just talking about it backstage. Like, for example, in cybersecurity, that's the normal mode of operation. Like, things happen and you react. Like, there is a new attack, you create new defense. To some extent, I think we are going to be seeing this with artificial intelligence technologies, because we will be learning some things that we did not know before. They have a really good shot at it. Because what does it mean to be creative, right? It means you have this space of possibilities, and you just really need to come up with something that has not been seen before. There's a concept of novelty and a concept of surprise. Or maybe I turned too much into AI, I don't know.
You can come up with something weird, but that doesn't mean it has soul, Saška. I mean, you're against it. Come on, you're halfway between the two of us. Like, you're supposed to be on my side too, no?
Let me give you a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is yes. Like, sure, algorithms can be creative. The longer answer is that question is such an awesome question, and it actually is older than the term AI itself. So the very first paper about AI was this paper by Alan Turing in 1950, 6 years before anybody ever used the term AI. And he goes through a series of objections. These are the things that are going to drive people nuts about the idea of computers becoming intelligent. One of the things was creativity. And he lays out in 1950, I can inject some sort of pseudo-randomness into the way an algorithm performs. I can do that to make it seem like a human, because humans aren't perfect, or I can do it to induce creativity. So what the paper would say is, let's not try to define creativity. Let's just operationalize and say, are you surprised by the result? If you're surprised by the result, then let's call that creativity. That's why I say the short answer is yes. The long answer is, well, sure, if I get to define what creativity is, then I can make an algorithm be creative.
Fair enough. Don't make me get into empathy, though.